Hi there, welcome to Bible Chat. Kevin, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. This is the first Bible Chat we've done in a while. That's made it on air.
Great. We've been doing some Bible Chats, and we've been chatting a lot about the Bible, but we haven't finalized the actual videos. So normally we just like to wing these, but what we've realized is winging them has gotten us into some trouble. So we want to just sort of review some topics here.
Yeah.
We had a couple questions that came in from some avid listeners. Avid listener.
Yes.
Singular. One of the young adults, Michaela, asked a great question, and this was her question. She said, "We talk about Jesus coming from the tribe of Judah,
Yeah.
but then we're also told that Jesus is our high priest, and we know that the priestly tribe is Levi. So why would Jesus come from the priestly tribe? I mean, from the kingly tribe, not the priestly tribe?" And the question gets more complex because Moses says in Deuteronomy 18, "A prophet will rise up like me," and Moses is from the tribe of Levi. So it's like, wait a minute. Is he from the tribe of Levi, from the tribe of Judah? How is he a priest and a king if he's not from the tribe of Levi? So maybe clear up some of that for us here quickly.
Yeah, what I would say simply is what Bobby was talking about at the retreat we had recently was you trace Genesis and the seed line for the Messiah goes through Judah, obviously, and that's the kingly line, right? So you're looking for a second Adam. Adam was, told to rule and things. It's kingly language. And so you have that precedent there. You're looking for the king is ultimately the main focus. But then...
And that's we see that in Judah because of Jacob's prophecy over him. Just to put a text to it, that Jeremiah 49... Genesis 49:10, where he says... The scepter will not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously Davidic covenant. It's the kingly dynasty that you're just filtering down to more specifics. But you do have the reality of the Levitical priesthood. This question actually comes up. What I love about the Bible is it answers the question in Hebrews 7, right?
Yeah.
So it talks about Melchizedek, and really it's helpful to put Hebrews in context because he's trying to talk to Jewish people who are tempted to revert to the old covenant and use it as some sort of means of getting to God, as some sort of salvation, which isn't even what it was for, as far as like saving your soul.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything for your soul through the temple or anything, but but what he's doing is he's actually saying, no, you need to come to Christ, who surpasses, the realities that the Old Covenant was pointing to.
Yeah.
And he points out Melchizedek, who's mentioned in the Old Testament, in Genesis, as a king priest. And he's these two offices together. Yeah. And that is used later in Psalm 110. It's mentioned in Hebrews 7:17, where it declares the Messiah will be a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek.
Gotcha.
And so there are two lines God has put for priests, for his priestly people. Yeah. And basically you have one that is the Levitical line and then one that is the king priest line. And and he's saying Christ is a priest according to that order of Melchizedek. Yeah. So it's just, I guess that's like the super simple answer, but to put significance to that, you have the Levitical line, which is designed within the Mosaic covenant to point to the need for purity and things like that. But even Hebrews 9, I think, goes on to say that the temple structure was a parable. It was like basically an analogy to help understand what Christ would do in heaven for us in the heavenly temple. Yeah. So
the earthly temple is a replica of the heavenly temple to show us what Christ is doing there. And so he's not obligated to be a priest after the Levitical order.
Correct.
Because he has this other priesthood that he receives directly from God through this guy Melchizedek, the international man of theological mystery. Yes. So Melchizedek is the priest. So which priesthood is better? The Melchizedekian priesthood or the Levitical priesthood?
Definitely the Melchizedekian priesthood. Hebrews goes on to say that.
Like in verse 10, or I guess 9. He says, so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes. For he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
So when Abraham meets Melchizedek in Genesis, he pays tithes to him, and the author of Hebrews picks up on that to say Levi was, so to speak, within the loins of Abraham, and Abraham is paying tithes to Melchizedek as though Melchizedek is a superior, person in that case. So The author of Hebrews is putting his finger on that and saying, look at that. This is significant.
So Melchizedek's the priest. Abraham pays tithes, so that means he's subservient to Melchizedek in some sense. Yeah. And Levi is the great grandson of Abraham, which means that he would be lesser than him in terms of importance.
Right.
So highest is Melchizedek, Abraham's under him, Isaac, Jacob, Levi, all the way down to that. He's way under Abraham.
Yeah.
Which shows that ultimately Levi is under the priesthood of Melchizedek.
Yeah, he's inferior in that sense. And so that's why Hebrews goes on in Hebrews 7 to point out so many times in different ways. You have the former priests in the Levitical line existed in greater number because they kept dying. Yeah. And you needed a new priest. But Jesus, verse 24, on the other hand, because he continues forever, holds his priesthood permanently. Therefore, he's able to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession. And then talks about he does not need daily, like those high priests, to offer up sacrifices first for their own sins and then for the sins of the people, because he did this once for all when he offered up himself. Right? Yeah. He didn't have any of his own sin. He's sinless. And so the author of Hebrews is pointing this out in several ways. Yeah. Why Christ is superior.
That's super helpful. So let me ask you this last question. We weren't planning this, but it's always fun to wing these. So do you think Melchizedek was a pre-incarnate Christ, or was he just a guy who God ordained with this office who then Abraham meets?
I think he's the latter. I think verse 7:3, it says he's made like the Son of God. Yeah. And I think the way to mention that, I think Bobby even talked about this too, it's the way he's portrayed in the narrative of Genesis. He doesn't have a father, mother, brother, anything. It's not as genealogical as, hey, there's Adam and his son and his son and his son. Correct. But this Melchizedek figure is portrayed in the story without genealogy, doesn't mention him dying. He's just, it's this profile of a character who's kind of mysterious in there, and so no wonder there's a question. But the author of Hebrews is pointing to the text and the way we have an understanding of Melchizedek in the text, which is why he says translate his name, and he's doing things he's handling the Bible when he's talking about this guy. Yeah. So while he was a real historical person, the way the author is pointing to him is through the text of Genesis. Right. And he's saying, let's look at the words and the way he's described and realize no wonder Christ is order after this order. Yeah. And so
that makes good sense. Yeah. So he's not like a pre-incarnate Christ. He's a guy, but he's a unique guy who had unique office, unique role for the express purpose of instituting a priesthood, which then David grabs onto and says, hey, you're a priest forever after this order, not the order of Levi. Yeah. So David understood that there were two orders, and the author of Hebrews just says, look, this is the testimony of the Bible. This is the priesthood Jesus holds. Therefore, he can be the king from the from the Judahite line, but not necessarily need to be a Levite or of Levitical priesthood, because he carries this greater priesthood through Melchizedek.
And to your point, he's also a prophet, which wasn't tied to a specific tribe, but he's prophet, priest, and king, and he fulfills all those.
Yeah, which is awesome. He is the great one. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome. Praise God. Well, hope that's helpful for you. If you have any questions about this topic or any topic, you can always email us at info@faithbibleoc, and then I was told to say this slower, faithbibleoc.org. Hope that's helpful for you. Thanks.